Officer Fanone, you talked in your testimony about the fact that the line that day was the seat of American democracy, was the seat of our government. Can you talk about, as you think now about what was under threat? First of all, did you know it? Did you have a sense at the time, as you were going through the battle before the horrific violence happened to you, of the nature of the gravity of the threat that we were facing, that the line was in fact the seat of American democracy?
Well, my response that day really was based off of my obligation as a police officer to not only protect the lives of the members of Congress and their staff, but also to my fellow officers. The politics of that day really didn't play into my response at all.
Thank you. Officer Hodges, in your testimony, you talk about when you were at the Ellipse, and you mentioned the significant number of men dressed in tactical gear attending the gathering, wearing ballistic vests, helmet, goggles. When you saw that, was that something that you had anticipated at all? And could you just tell us more about that crowd there at the Ellipse, the extent to which you saw people who clearly were in military or paramilitary garb?
It was absolutely a source of concern. Like I said, they had outer carrier vests designed to carry ballistic shielding, helmets, goggles, face masks, backpacks filled with unknown objects. And I couldn't get a count, and we couldn't stop and search everyone. But so I don't know how many there were, but I know that it was obviously a concern of mine.
Thank you very much. And then finally, Officer Dunn, you mentioned the text message that you received, and you expressed some surprise. You mentioned that you had not seen any intelligence that would have led you to believe that we should expect that kind of violence. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. So we were expecting civil disobedience, as we do at the Capitol. At least that was what was relayed to us. A couple of arrests, name calling, unfriendly people, but nowhere near the level of violence or even close to it like that we experienced. When I received the text message, it made the hairs on my neck rise. But since our chain of command had not told us to prepare for any of these levels of violence, I was just like, okay, whatever. Like, I've been here. I start year 14 in November, and we've dealt with hundreds of protests where people get arrested, and peaceful First Amendment protests. Everybody has the right to protest. That's okay. Do what you do, and we'll arrest you if you break the law, and we'll go home later that night. It was a lot different than that, but I was not alerted to the level of violence. Like, the text message I got foreshadowed that, looking back, but no, I was not. We were not prepared for what we faced that day.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, without objection, I'd like to ask unanimous consent if we could enter that complete text message into the record.
Without objection.
Thank
you.
Ordered. And again, I would just like to express my deep gratitude for what you all did to save us. And it won't be forgotten, and we will get to the bottom of this. Thank you very much.